Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I am so happy that you're here. If you're new, an extra special welcome to you. Wherever you found me, whether it was Instagram or YouTube or Spotify, I'm just happy that you're here. I'm happy that you'll join me into leveling up your life. And if you're returning, as always, hugs and kisses. I'm excited that you're back and I'm excited to be building this community alongside you. If you are into leveling up, self-improvement, wellness, mental health, all of the above, you need to follow me on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, on Instagram, on TikTok, on all the platforms because I'm very active and I'm just here to build a community of like-minded women trying to become the best versions of ourselves. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get into kind of the intro of this episode, how this episode normally works. I know there's a lot of new listeners, so generally after a little intro, I get into a high and a low of the week, a shout out, and then we get into the actual bulk of the episode. So this week's high and low. A high is it was my first week of classes, which is really exciting, and obviously it's stressful. There's a lot to balance. However, if you listen to last week's episode, you would know how I can balance everything, how I optimize my life to just get everything done, including self-care. Like, I'm a proponent of my self-care. And so there's always that. And then I was able to catch up with all of my friends. It was so much fun because a lot of times in college, right, you have friends that don't live in the same state or area you do. So like during winter break, everyone goes home. It's quite lonely. So I was able to catch up with my favorite girls. And of course, you girls are also my favorite girls. So that was a treat. And then a low is probably that the weather has been kind of sucky. It was very, very cold in Minnesota where I live this past week. And so I was walking to class. It was like 6 degrees Fahrenheit, which you can look at how much that is in Celsius if you're a girly outside of the States. But like, it's freezing and the wind is blasting my face and I'm just trying to get to my class, but the weather looks warmer. The weather is going to get better in a couple months. I just need to survive the winter scaries. And if you want me to make an episode on surviving the winter blues, because right now I'm feeling it. I'm feeling a little depressed. I'm feeling a little sad because it's freezing and it's dark and it's cold outside. I totally get you and I can make an episode to help. And finally, a shout out. So if you want to get a shout out, be sure to leave me a YouTube comment, a Spotify comment, or an Apple podcast review. But I'm going to pick a comment from Spotify, episode 130, which was all about healing a disordered relationship with food and finding food freedom. And Tuli Polaritz, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, commented, "Slay Lana, keep going." Well, thank you so much for just words of encouragement. Even if you have nothing that important to say in a comment or in, a DM, I'd always love for you girls just like hype me up because at the end of the day, like I make this content for you to help you because that's what I'm here to do and to build a community, right? And so sometimes it can feel really isolating and lonely, but when you girls just like lift me up, say like slay, I get so excited, I get so happy, and so I'm very thankful for you, Tuli. And if you want to be a shout out, you know how to get it. Be sure to leave a comment. And with Valentine's Day coming soon, I am doing a giveaway. So I mentioned this in last week's episode, but just reminding you, I'm doing a flower bouquet giveaway. So if you leave me an Apple Podcast review, I will enter you into a drawing to win a little bouquet from me. I will send it. I will look up local flower deliveries around your area and I will send a bouquet of flowers to you so you know what you deserve. Little hint, you do not need to have an iPhone or an Apple device to leave an Apple Podcast review. You can go on your desktop and go to Apple Podcasts, make an account and leave a review that way. And the giveaway is live until February 14th at midnight. So like right when it turns Valentine's Day, that's when the giveaway is closed. And I will spin the wheel or draw a name from a hat and I will announce it on Instagram that day on Valentine's Day. So hopefully it will surprise one of you girls and make your Valentine's Day a little bit sweeter. And if you already left me an Apple Podcast review, you are automatically entered. So thank you for doing that. Okay, girls. So I have always really loved to work out and really looked up to Victoria's Secret Angels when it came to my workouts because they have a really nice toned, strong yet feminine physique. Okay. They aren't like skeleton thin like runway models because they had curves, they had muscle, they had definition, but it didn't look too bad. It looked very feminine. And I always looked up to them, especially growing up. And is that necessarily healthy? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I was doing what all the other girls were doing, okay? And at least I was looking at somewhat healthy people, like somewhat because yeah. But anyway, back in 2020, I decided I wanted that Victoria's Secret model look. I wanted to look lean and toned and tailored and just ready in that cute little swimsuit. So I started working out and I was copying what these models were doing. I was doing their type of training. Like I would look what Adriana Lima does, what Romy Strigid do, like all the big models, right? So 4 years later, it's like early 2024, last year, I'm working out 5-6 days a week. Like lifting, running, doing all the things, Pilates, yoga. I was doing everything possible. I was doing what the models were doing, working out for hours on end. And I was just not achieving the look I wanted because at the time, I did not understand that you need to work out depending on your body type, not Romy Strigid's body type, not Kendall Jenner's body type, your body type, because you are a unique individual and you have different genetics, but most importantly, you probably have a different body type than the models you're looking up to. Despite my effort of all of this, I was just puffy and bulky. I was working out 5-6 days a week and I hated how I looked because my legs felt heavy, my clothes were really tight, especially in the biceps. And mind you, I actually still have very strong biceps. Like they didn't like deteriorate, like they exist, but they were really big at the time. And I had zero confidence in the t-shirts I was wearing. And I knew something was off. But the problem was the whole internet was like, women can't get bulky. But there I was getting bulky every single day, bulkier by the minute. And I just did not understand what was wrong with me. And I started to do research. I started diving into books, academic papers. I started looking at female physiology. I started looking at lean muscle tissue versus like bulky muscle tissue and how muscle is built, both for women and for men. But understand we are focusing on the women body type because we are a different body. We have hormones and we have more fluctuations going on, causing our bodies to look different than men. So I guess rule number one is don't take a man's training plan because he does not have a 28-day cycle like you do. He also does not have the estrogen you have and doesn't have the low testosterone you have, making it more difficult for you to build any muscle. It's not impossible. And even though I know the world says women can't get bulky from weights, I somehow got bulky from weights. And actually, a lot of women complain that they get bulky from weights. So there's something off. And I finally figured out what that off was, and that is because 1 in 3 women can't get bulky from weights. The other 2 body types of women can get bulky from weights. So I'm going to spill all the tea on what it will take for you to get toned. Not just what it took me to get toned, but what will work for your specific body type. Okay, before we get into the 3 main body types that I'm going to cover, again, focusing on the female body type, but men have a similar structure. So if you're a guy, go to the research papers and do your own work. I'm talking about women, okay? Women can get bulky, and bulkiness really depends on 4 main factors. First, your body type, and genetics play a huge role in this. Second is your workout choice, so weights versus Pilates versus cardio versus yoga, etc. Third is your workout frequency, so too much is not good. Too little is also not good. Too much and you're screwing up your hormones and getting yourself puffy, okay? I'm talking to the girls that are working out more than 4, 5, 6 times a week. No. And finally, diet. So building muscle also means fat gain, but how do we reduce the fat gain so we don't become bulky, right? So muscle itself isn't bulky, okay? But when muscle is combined with fat, because you cannot build muscle and not have fat at the same time. When you gain weight, you gain weight. Obviously, depending on what you're eating and how you're working your body, the amount of muscle might be more than the amount of fat. But if you're just gaining weight, and let's pretend you're not really lifting, you're not activating your muscle, you're not doing resistance training, you're going to gain more fat than muscle, because what's the point of your body building muscle if it's not being used? So there's that. And for some women, building muscle with their fat happens easier than others. And we're going to get into that. So if you want to be toned, okay, you need to have some muscle. You need to build something. Because if you don't build something, there's nothing to tone. There's nothing. You are skinny fat at that point. So you need to have some muscle and minimize fat. And obviously to a healthy body fat, to your hormones, because women need to have a higher body fat than men, okay? otherwise your hormones won't function. Otherwise, you won't have a regular period. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. And trust me, as someone who has hormonal irregularities, I'm very conscious of my body fat because if it gets too low, I can't produce estrogen. Neither can any other woman because you need to have a good body fat. But you can still look lean and toned with a good body fat. Does that make sense? Like, you don't need to go to the extreme. We're not into extremes here. So let's get into the 3 main body types. Let's break it down so you know what to do and you're not stuck working out 6 days a week and not getting anywhere like I was, because that sucked. Okay, so here are the 3 body types. If you're watching the video version, I have it on the screen. Ectomorphs, endomorphs, mesomorphs. 3 main body types. Obviously, there are scenarios where someone is both body types, or your genetics for some reason make you extra predisposed to building muscle, aka me, but like overall, you're gonna fit into one of these 3 people, okay? Ectomorphs are naturally really lean and struggle gaining muscle and fat. So they're the people that complain of sometimes being too skinny and they have very high metabolisms, and ectomorphs are more likely to be skinny fat just because it's hard for them to build muscle or just put on weight, period. Mesomorphs are naturally muscular and can gain muscle quite quickly. They also lose muscle quickly, they gain fat quickly, they lose fat quickly. They're the kind of natural athletic build. And finally, endomorphs are naturally curvier and gain fat oftentimes a lot quicker than they gain muscle. So 3 main body types. You can look at the chart and kind of gauge where you're at. There are quizzes online for you to take. I'll maybe link 1 or 2 down below, but I think it's pretty easy to know from like looking at the picture and also looking at your body, what are you? And then from there you can apply the tips that I'm going to mention. So if you're an ectomorph, okay, you're naturally thin, you have a pretty small frame, you struggle to gain muscle or fat, okay? You naturally have a pretty high metabolism. Many Victoria's Secret models actually are natural ectomorphs. They are naturally very skinny. And so yes, they can get bulky, but it would be like so hard for them. Like they would have to eat an insane amount of food. Victoria's Secret models like Sanu Vloet are naturally skinny. Same with Paris Hilton and Kendall Jenner. This is why on their Instagram stories or on their TikToks, they can lift weights. Like a lot of them lift weights or they're doing their 12-3-30 workouts, and yet they never look bulky. They look toned and leaned. And this is kind of my issue, is I would try to copy the ectomorphs, but I wasn't an ectomorph. For me, building muscle wasn't that hard. And so I didn't need to be doing the heavy lifting. I didn't need to be doing the incline walking and running. And we'll get into that later. But if you're an ectomorph, right, you're naturally pretty thin, you struggle gaining weight, your workout strategy to look toned is literally focus on weightlifting, okay? Focus on weightlifting to build muscle. We want moderate weights. We want 10 to 15 reps. We want muscle hypertrophy, okay? A minimum of 2 times a week, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. You want to start lifting to build muscle so you have something to tone on your frame. Otherwise, there is nothing to tone. Then you can incorporate Pilates or bodyweight exercise for extra, I guess, like resistance training outside of weightlifting, maybe like once a week. But like Pilates shouldn't be your main workout. And why I say that is because as an ectomorph, you naturally just don't build muscle quickly. And so for you, it's counterintuitive to be doing a resistance training that doesn't create as much muscle hypertrophy as weightlifting does. I also would tell you girls, ectomorphs, okay, limit the cardio. If you're trying to build muscle, doing more cardio isn't necessarily going to help with that. So limit cardio, just go on a few light walks, but nothing crazy. There's no point in doing crazy cardio. If you want a lean toned look and you're an ectomorph, your focus is building muscle. Your focus is not doing cardio, because for you, it's harder to build muscle. For nutrition, I would say make sure that you're eating calorically dense foods to support muscle growth. You have a naturally high metabolism. You naturally aren't predisposed to gaining muscle and fat. So you have to eat to build muscle in the first place. Will that include a little bit of fat gain? Yes, but how you can avoid that is eating healthy calories, okay? We're talking about proteins. We're talking meat, fish, eggs, beans, healthy carbs, okay? Quinoa, sourdough, pasta even, okay? I know some people freak out and don't call it a healthy carb. It's a carb. Calm down, everybody. Healthy fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, fruit. Like you can eat healthily, but in a small caloric surplus to help you build muscle. if you don't eat in a caloric surplus, you aren't building muscle, period. There is nothing to build from. So that's that. But yes, make sure that you're especially focusing on protein during this phase because you got to build muscle at the end of the day to get that lean toned look. And then after you build said muscle, then it's easier. Then you can kind of not focus as heavily on like, you need to still like maintain your physique, but like you don't have to work as hard because you can just maintain at that point. You don't need to go as hard in the gym. You don't need to be as strict with your protein and your overall consumption, just because by then it's like easier. You have the muscle on you as long as you don't undereat too much or forget about resistance training and then the muscle deteriorates. So that's for you ectomorphs, okay? I'm not like you, and you guys are technically the most genetically blessed because for you, you can lift as heavy as you want, and it's probably a lot more difficult to build muscle. So, you are the natural Victoria's Secret angels. For my mesomorphs, okay, you guys are naturally athletic. You're not fat, but you're not thin. And you gain and lose muscle and fat quite easily. And oftentimes we naturally have pretty good muscle definition. Gigi Hadid and Jennifer Lawrence are mesomorphs. And I'm a mesomorph, okay? This is me. I gain weight, especially muscle, very quickly after starting any new resistance training routine or simply eating more protein. And I can also lose muscle and weight pretty quickly depending on my workout routine and what I'm eating. So like for me, to get the lean toned look, you have to put in a little more thought behind everything I'm doing because otherwise I'm not going to get to where I want to be. So here's the workout strategy for the mesomorphs. You need to balance a mix of light weightlifting and Pilates for that toned look, okay? If you feel really bulky, you might have to go through a period of time where all the workouts you do for a couple of months is just like 3-4 days a week Pilates. Like Pilates, resistance training that only requires like your body weight until you lose some muscle. Because let's pretend you were really lifting heavy. Like let's pretend you're me 1 year ago, okay? You were lifting heavy at the gym and you built a lot of muscle and now you feel uncomfortable. I would recommend for you for, 3 months or so, 4 months, you're going to go through a whole debulking phase. You are going to stop the weightlifting period and you're just going to do Pilates / body weight exercises 3-4 days a week. That's it. That's it. You just don't lift anymore just for a time because I understand there are so many health benefits to lifting and it is important for all women to lift universally, not even thinking about physiques, but like to debulk, you're going to need to like stop lifting period and really dial in on body weight exercises and your nutrition to, cut some of the muscle and fat off of your body pretty much because that's what it's going to do. Because again, once the muscle stops being used so much, it will naturally go away. It will naturally become smaller. And then I think after you go through that debulking, then we can do that strength training and Pilates mix, which is what I currently do. So I recommend 1 to 2 days of weightlifting and 2 days of Pilates. That's what I do, okay? I literally work out 3 days a week and that's it. And that's how I maintain my physique. And it's so easy. When I actually talk about 1 day of weightlifting or 1 day of Pilates, I need to give this as a note. It's a full body workout. I don't do a split. Okay, I activate my full body. When I weightlift, my 1 day of weightlifting activates my entire body, and then I do an extra set on my glutes just because I want to make sure that those muscles are there and they're obvious. So same with Pilates. Like when I'm doing my couple days of Pilates, it's always a full body workout. So I don't do splits, okay? I kind of don't do the whole gym bro thing. It's not my thing because I'm a girl and also I'm kind of busy, so I don't have time to hit the gym 5-6 days a week. But anyway, I work out 3 days a week. 1 day weightlifting, 2 days of Pilates, that's it. So if you're a mesomorph, okay, just do 3 to 4 days of resistance training maximum because your muscles react quickly to training. And that's good because then you can get that toned look. But also if you do too much, you're going to get bulky. I also mean when I say light weightlifting, I'm saying that the max weight you're using is between 10 to 20 pounds. Maybe 30 pounds or 40 if you were doing like a glute only exercise. I'm talking a hip thrust, I'm talking cable pushbacks. But if you're not doing that, then no, okay? And avoid heavy lifting if you're prone to bulkiness, okay? You do not need to be picking up a weight heavier than 30, 40 pounds for any reason, okay? And avoid certain weightlifting movements that will cause you to be bulky, especially in areas where I find women don't feel comfortable being bulky, okay? The arms, the back, the thighs, okay? A lot of times women, including me, just don't want to have a ton of muscle and fat around there. We just don't. We want to have the lean toned look. So if you're a mesomorph, avoid big muscle group exercises for weightlifting. So biceps, for example, your arms. Don't do bicep curls. You can still work out your arms and your shoulders with very light weights. I generally do like 1 pound. And then I do like planks and whatever, tricep push-ups, etc. But I don't really do bicep curls ever because my biceps are naturally big. Why would I need to activate the muscle, cause muscle hypertrophy, and make my muscle grow? I don't need to do that. If you don't like your thighs because they get bulky quite quickly, speaking from personal experience, do not do squats or heavy, especially heavy weighted squats. Any type of squat or heavy weighted lunge with weights, okay? It's a little different if you're doing a squat and it's body weight or if it's a sumo squat because that uses your inner thighs. But like a regular squat, do not lift weights in a regular squat, okay? If you're prone, yes, all the gym girls are like, oh, it builds your glutes. There is better exercises to build your glutes, okay? I always recommend the good old hip thrust slash glute bridge. That's a great exercise, okay? Cable pushbacks, isolated glute exercises. You do not need to be activating your thighs using 40, 50 pounds because that's what it's going to do. The squat isn't building your butt, so don't do it. Overall, I think when it comes to those big weightlifting exercises, use your brain. If you don't want bigger arms, don't do heavy weights on your arms. Just do body weight, okay? It's just using your brain. Oftentimes I'd question why I continued doing my workout plan if I didn't like the results I was getting, but we digress. I don't know where I was mentally like a year ago, so who knows? And then for cardio, I'd recommend moderate cardio 3 to 4 times a week. I walk every day and that's about it. I love walking. I used to run a lot, but I don't know. It would stress my body out a little too much. And I would know if you're a girl, okay, that gets really stressed out and you deal with anxiety a lot, don't run. It makes you puffier. It causes cortisol. If you're a type A person, reconsider running. Just do it. And I know right now you might be like, oh, never take away running. It's stress relief. Trust me, if you hold on to a lot of subconscious stress, it's causing that like extra layer of fat around your stomach because that's what cortisol does. But anyway, we digress. So I just like walking, but some cardio no-nos. As a mesomorph, again, you build muscle quickly. So incline walking or incline running. These types of cardio build muscle. An incline walk or an incline run is building your thigh muscle. If you don't want your thigh muscle to be bulky, then why are you doing it? So I always walk on a normal incline. Of course, if I'm on a walk and there's a hill, I'm going up the hill. It's good cardio for me, but I'm not incline walking 12-3-30 because what's the point? Cycling. I love a good cycling class, but as a mesomorph, again, your thighs can get real bulky real quick, speaking from personal experience. So I do cycling like once a week sometimes if I want to go with a friend, but like that's it. I'm not cycling every single day. Yes, it's good cardio, but like as someone who builds muscle very quickly, I don't need my thighs like growing double in size within a span of a couple of months, which yes, it has happened before. Stairmaster, again, good cardio. All the gym girls talk about it, but it also builds your thighs because it is using your thighs the entire time. Be also really careful with those jumping workouts. So like the HIIT classes, the jumping uses your thighs a lot. Okay. And so if you're trying to debulk, especially, just don't do it. Obviously, after you've debulked and you got your dream toned body, you can be a little more lenient with like incline running and a couple jumps here and there, like in a dance class or whatever, that's fine. But like if you're in a phase of debulking, just avoid stuff that causes you to get more bulky. Does that make sense? Okay. Nutrition. So focus on a balanced diet with protein, fat, and carbs. Eat lean proteins, so chicken, turkey, fish, and moderate carbs like quinoa, sweet potatoes, and healthy fats. But, okay, and I wish someone told me this, you have to be mindful of portion control. Okay. If you eat too much, you may build muscle and fat too quickly. As a mesomorph, your body likes to adapt very fast. And so for me, I got really bulky, not just because of the weights. Okay. If you eat at a caloric maintenance and you do weights, you don't build muscle, period. You won't gain weight, period. But if you are lifting and you're eating more, you're gonna build muscle and you're gonna gain fat because again, you can't build muscle without gaining a little fat. Problem is, if you start building muscle very quickly and start eating a lot more, you are going to build a lot more fat along with the muscle. And that is what's going to give you that bulky look. So if you want to be toned and lean, you have to be careful with like how quickly you're building on that muscle and what you're getting your calories from. Like, are all your calories just sugar or in processed food, or is it real food like healthy fat and protein and carbs? So just be mindful of portion control, because for mesomorphs, you do build muscle a lot quicker. And so if you start eating a lot more, especially protein and lifting, you're gonna get bulky. And that's where I was. And so if I just wish someone told me like, yes, it's important to fuel your muscles, but you also need to make sure you're listening to your body and you're not just like, because what I would do is I would just like overeat a lot, or I would eat a lot of protein foods when I wasn't hungry. Like I would eat a lot of processed protein bars, etc., etc. And it caused me to build a lot more muscle and fat, but it also didn't make me feel good. So just be mindful. And finally, my endomorphs. So you're naturally curvier, you gain fat easily, you struggle with weight loss, and your goal is to manage your body fat to keep that toned look through a healthy diet and exercise. And some famous people with this frame are Kim Kardashian, before plastic surgery, might I add, and Jennifer Lopez. So your workout strategy is actually very similar to the mesomorphs, because endomorphs, you guys might be more predisposed to gaining fat, but you're also, again, you're building muscle with fat, okay? Because it's body tissue. And so if you feel you are too muscular, you go through that debulking phase. I recommended mesomorph. So like only doing 3 to 4 days of Pilates and bodyweight exercises until you debulk. And then after, do 1 day a week of light weightlifting, again, maximum like 20 pounds. And then 2 to 3 days of Pilates. Again, when I say 1 day of weightlifting, full body, 1 day of Pilates, full body. We're not doing splits. And then you need to make sure that you're adding that low intensity, steady state cardio to your routine, like practically 6 days a week, right? We're talking power walking. Again, I'm a big fan of walking. It is stress relieving. You can go outside, you can, walk on the treadmill and read a book or watch a show. I love walking, okay? Cardio is good for you. And also if you're going through that debulking phase, avoid the cardio types I mentioned for the mesomorphs, like cycling, Stairmaster, etc., because that's just going to bulk up, especially your legs more. And endomorphs, you naturally gain fat. And actually women in general naturally gain fat around our legs and our midsection a lot faster than other parts of our body. Obviously, depending on genetics, where exactly is different, but it is what it is. And so we want to make sure that we're minimizing having too much muscle on our legs, because that also means they're going to look bulky with the extra fat. And for nutrition, prioritize whole foods, vegetables, lean protein, and low glycemic carbs. For especially endomorphs, you guys have to be the most particular about how you're feeding your body, okay? I'm all about intuitive eating and listening to your body, but also use your brain, okay? You need to make sure that you're not eating a ton of processed food, a ton of food that is going to, cause you to overeat. You need to eat high protein, lots of fiber-rich foods. That's going to help keep you full. And, try and be in a small caloric deficit to lose the excess fat. As an endomorph, you naturally have a little more fat. And so that's not a bad thing. Okay, we need to think about this. Obviously, when I say small caloric deficit, I genuinely mean small. No, you are not eating 1,200 calories a day, not even 1,500. That's not enough. That's giving we're ruining our metabolism for life. Why would you do that to yourself? Exactly. So, you also don't need to count calories. To be in a calorie deficit, you just need to use your brain. You don't need to count calories. It's obsessive, and also it gives me PTSD from my eating disorder, so I'm not a fan of it. But just if you limit your processed food and you're mindful of portions, it can happen quite naturally. You can be in a caloric deficit if you just stop eating out a lot and you're just focused. And let's pretend, okay? I'm not gonna do this whole trend of you're overweight because all you do is eat junk food. No, I understand there are women that eat very healthy and yet they struggle with excess fat. Healthy food also has calories, okay? Avocados, sourdough bread, nuts, seeds, that has calories. And so you need to be mindful of your portions overall, because you can also be eating only healthy food and be in a big caloric surplus, which won't help you lose body fat. And so if you're an endomorph who naturally holds on to more body fat, you need to be mindful of your portion sizes, even of healthy food. Because I know there's like this whole like weird thing of like, oh, if you're overweight, it's because you always eat unhealthy. When I was at my heaviest, I was actually eating pretty darn healthy, like pretty healthy, but it was way too many. Like we're talking like double, triple, quadruple portion sizes of like nuts and like really like calorically dense foods, which are, yes, very healthy for you, but too much of a good thing turns into a bad thing. All right. Well, I hope you really like this episode. I hope you took some points away. Please understand, I'm not a personal trainer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an exercise scientist. I just am speaking from my personal experience and, with the understanding that I've been through a lot. I debulked, I think, between January of 2024 to probably June. And then I started my 1 day of weightlifting, 2 days of Pilates and walking routine. And now I'm like the leanest I've ever been. And I have muscle on me. I'm toned. And I actually really, really like how my body turned out. And do I look like a VS angel? No, because I am not a Victoria's Secret angel. And they are great people to look up to. But I also understand with my bone structure, with my height, it's just not going to work. And that's okay. But I can look the best body. I'm the Victoria's Secret angel version of me. And so you can work hard and be the Victoria's Secret angel version of you. And that is so unique and that's so beautiful and so special. And it's just how God created you. So that's really beautiful in itself. Don't let the internet convince you your struggles aren't valid. It's okay to want a specific look as long as it's healthy and it makes you happy. Not it as in like the look, but like the journey of getting there and what you're eating and how you're moving your body. Because at the end of the day, you can be on the strictest diet and like working out 6 days a week like I used to. And I was miserable and I had no time and I was burnt out. So you need to make sure that whatever workout routine and nutrition you are adding into your life, you need to make sure that is sustainable, because otherwise it's not going to last. All right, so make sure you figure out what body type fits you best. Start changing your workout and diet routine within reason. Of course, I'm not a fan of extremes. I want to make sure that it's sustainable so you girls can actually reach your goals and you can achieve that lean, toned, Victoria's Secret model version of you in no time. And before we end the episode, I'm going to give you a quote of the week. Pay attention to your body. The point is everybody is different. You have to figure out what works for you. And I think this was by Andrew Weil or something, but pretty much understand that your body is unique. Taking somebody else's workout routine just because they look good on Instagram isn't going to give you the results you want. You need to focus on your body, look at your schedule, look at your routine, and look at what is realistic for you. Working out 5-6 days a week wasn't realistic for me, and it was just stressing me out, stressing my body out, and making me look puffy and inflamed. And honestly, I just realized I said the word inflamed a lot. If you are working against your body will tell you, and it will tell you by inflammation. And bulkiness was one issue that I guess we tackled in this episode, but overall cortisol and stress is another issue. And I can definitely make a whole episode on how stress can impact your body, because I'm a girl that does have an anxiety issue. And so it does really impact not only how your body looks, but how you feel and how you go about your day. So I can make a whole episode on that, but like, you are unique. Pay attention to you and figure out what will work best for you within your constraints, within your schedule. All right, girls. Well, I'm so happy you listened in, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.